Hey everybody, for today's video, we're going to be doing kind of an everyday kind of makeup look. So that's not going to be super glam. It's not going to be super glowy. It's just going to be kind of what you need to feel refreshed and put together for the day using some of my favorite drugstore products. Let's get into it. As for primer, I'm just using my skincare. I did an eye cream. I did, moisturizer that had SPF in it. Yeah, we'll just get started with base. I'm going to attempt to wear my headband. I already did my hair, and so I'm kind of like scared to ruin it, but we'll get into it. Okay. For foundation, I'm going to be using my Maybelline Superstay 30 Hour Lumi Matte foundation. I wear the shade 112. And what I like to do, it's very well loved. I use this all the time. I'm just going to pump one pump on the back of my hand and then just kind of buff it into my buffing foundation brush. Warm it up on my hand just a little bit, which is a trick I learned from Allie Glines. Want to give credit where credit is due. And then just kind of buff it into my face. I like to start at the edge. And I don't want a ton of foundation for every day, you know? I mean, you can always use more if you guys want. I'm going to use just a little bit. But yeah, I like to start kind of at the outside of my face and then work inward so that the least amount of product is going to be going into my smile lines, because we should be allowed to smile without having our makeup go absolutely insane. So let's try the other side. And then I do have my makeup here, or my mirror here. So if I look kind of funny or like I'm looking somewhere weird, like I just have a mirror right here. A little on my forehead. I have some redness on my cheeks. Not that there's anything wrong with our natural skin tones and the way that our skin just naturally is. I mean, it's an organ, you know, it's the largest organ of the human body. So it's gonna do, you know, some things sometimes. I'm gonna blend it down a little bit. But when I am doing makeup and I want to feel put together, I do like to have kind of an even base to work with. I'm going to kind of even stipple it in a little bit. Just see whatever's left and just put it in. Okay. I think that looks good for every day. Now, as for concealer, now if you don't want to do like a lighter brightening concealer, you don't have to. Honestly, a lot of times I'll just use my foundation. I'll put like a tiny little bit and I'll work it under my eyes. Concealer is a product they didn't really use historically. So if you want to be historically accurate, that could be very fun. I'm very into historical makeup, so I'll mention it a time or two on my channel and, you know, every video because it's fun. But for concealer, because I am going to use a concealer today, I'm going to use the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser. I used the shade 95, which I have wondered if it is too light for me, but I think it'll work for under my eyes. I'm going to use the same foundation brush and just kind of stipple it under my eye in kind of a triangular check mark kind of shape up the side of my face. Then I like to put in a little extra on my eyelid because it helps to prime for shadow. Now, I'm not going to be using an eyeshadow today technically, or at least not like a technical eyeshadow product, but I do still like to do it because, again, it evens things out, brightens things up. I like it. But see, that's the beautiful thing about makeup is you could watch this tutorial and do it exactly how I do it if you want, but you don't have to. Makeup is something that is played with, and you find out what you like on your skin, and everybody has a different face. And so you know what works best on your face better than I do. So I do want to use a little bit more to use in between my brows, on the end of my nose, and my chin. just to give a little bit of a glow, a little bit of a highlight there without using like a glittery product. Just using a light color concealer really helps to illuminate the skin. I think it works quite nice. I think I also want to use my CoverGirl Clean Fresh pressed powder. I like to use that under my eyes, and I like to use a powder puff. This one is by e.l.f. I wish every product came as a compact. It's just so nice. But I'm gonna press it under my eye. This one is supposed to be the invisible, like translucent shade. Ooh. It is definitely illuminating. So I don't know if this is truly an invisible translucent kind of powder. Like I do feel like there's a little bit of a, a blurring, like illuminating quality. So I'm kind of just going to use this everywhere that I used concealer to help brighten those spots up just a little bit more. Because right now for every day, I don't want to go for super glowy, or at least not like super sparkly, but still like illuminated. So this helps to just use lighter shades rather than glitter. Remember back in the day when we used nothing but glitter as highlight? Those were fun times. They were fun times. And honestly, using glitter on the face is really fun, but it might not be what you want for like an everyday look. So now I'm going to use my e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder. This is a loose setting powder. This is in the shade Light Pink. Ooh, that might be a lot. I'm going to take just an extra large fluffy brush. I have to get some off of my makeup table. And just kind of set everywhere else. Trying to miss the places where I used the brightening powder. Just to make sure everything is set. I say skip the spots that you have the illuminating powder, and then I keep managing to put it over the forehead where I have the illuminating powder. And my chin. Oh well, okay. See, well, mistakes happen. And it's okay, because it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to go in with bronzer. I'm going to use my e.l.f. Primer Infused Matte Bronzer. This is in the shade Forever Sunkissed. Kind of thinking of using the fluffy brush. Maybe just use the side of it. And just add a little bit of bronze. Just a little bit. I don't want there to be a ton. You know. Maybe you guys do. In which case, do what you like. But I like to put it more on my cheekbone rather than underneath it. I'm not trying to contour exactly as much as I am just add a little bit of color, especially because it's summertime and I like a little bit of bronze, especially in the summertime, especially when it's early summertime and I haven't had a whole ton of time to get outside, get a natural tan glowing, or a natural tan glowing. Yeah, it works. I buy it. It's fun. A little bit on my nose, little bit on my eyelids. Again, I don't want to go crazy, just every day. Yeah, I think that's nice. Maybe a little bit down here, a little bit down the neck. Yeah, I think that's nice. Now for blush. I do want this to look very natural, so I'll probably stick with this same extra large fluffy brush. And I'll be using the Primer Infused Matte Blush by e.l.f. in the shade Always Crushing, which is kind of this like rosy shade. I'll just take a little bit, maybe buff it into the lid a little. And then just kind of, I like to focus it on the upwards part of my cheek, and then kind of move downwards to the apple of my cheek. This, I feel like, oh, you know something? I've never used this blush. Of course I did that. I've never used this brush for blush before, but I kind of like it for like the everyday, really natural look. It helps you from putting too much on and looking like you might have too much blush on. This would be a really good beginner technique, I think, too, to kind of help you not to put on too much all at once, because I feel like blush, it can be easy with some products to end up putting on like way too much. I feel like I started wearing makeup when I was 12. Not a ton. I mostly was just playing with it at that point, but makeup was more of a toy at that point. But I had like the lightest shade of blush ever. Like you could not see it when it got put on. So that one wasn't hard to overdo. So maybe start with something like that. But if you do like a darker shade, or a darker shade works best on your skin tone, maybe start with a big fluffy brush. That's nice. I might go across my nose a little bit, again into my eyelids, just a little. Okay, now I guess this is technically where you would do like an eyeshadow look. Now you don't have to do eyeshadow. You don't even have to do anything other than this. You could leave your eyelids just the way they are. I would like to, however, do something a little extra, and to show you guys how to do it. For every day, there's no need necessarily to use eyeshadow unless you really want to. But for today, I want to show you guys that you can use the same bronzer and blush, and maybe even highlight if you used it. I might even use a little bit of this powder to kind of create an eyeshadow look. It will match the rest of your face, and it's fun. It's easy. And honestly, if you are building a beginner kit, this is a good beginner routine too. If you are building a beginner kit, you don't even necessarily need to get an eyeshadow palette, because that can be kind of overwhelming. You might not know exactly like, oh, what looks good on me yet? I don't know. And so just using the bronzer and blush you're already getting, like, and use it as eyeshadow. That's what I think. Anyways, I'm going to be using this fluffy eyeshadow brush in my bronzer and just blending it into my crease. And this is kind of a foolproof way to do eyeshadow. I feel like it's harder to mess up this way. Then it just looks like you're adding a little bit of just a natural shadow, you know? Because especially for every day, we want our makeup to look fairly natural. You know, we don't always want to look too makeup-y, I guess. I don't know. Again, it's just a little bit, but it kind of elevates the look. You don't even have to add blush. I'm going to add a little bit. I'm going to use my same fluffy brush that I used and just kind of maybe buff it into the outer corner there. And you can kind of put this where you like. You could keep it just in the crease. You could put it on the lid, but if you are going to put it on the lid, I would recommend keeping it to the outer corner just to help it from looking like too much. That's pretty. I think that's nice. And then I am going to use some of my CoverGirl Clean Fresh. I'm probably just going to use my finger. I want to add a little bit under the brows just to give a little bit of a brightening and lifting effect. Ooh, yeah, I like that. Again, not needed for every day. You might think that's a little too glam for you. That's okay. I'm going to put it also on the inner corner of my eye. You're going to hardly notice it's there, but it's going to just add a little bit of awakeness, which can certainly help us all. If only it actually made us feel awake, right? I put him into the inner corner here, this little like kind of near the tear duct. Okay, yeah, that's nice. I'm not going to do a liner. You can if you would like, but I don't. So we're going to go in with mascara. I use the Milani Highly Rated Lash Extensions tubing mascara. I find it's easier to take off at the end of the day. And so this is a really great everyday mascara. And I feel like everybody has, you know, their way that they like to put on mascara. and you kind of just play around with it and see what works. I like putting it at the base and just kind of wiggling it up a little bit, at least to start with, because I need to do a little bit of matching with my eyelashes to help them look a little bit more even. Okay. You can already kind of see a difference, but I am going to probably be adding more. I like to add more with this product because I find for me, I kind of need a little bit more. Oh, I got a little bit right there. Okay. That's okay. I get quiet when I put my mascara on. Because we got to focus, right? That looks nice. I don't like to do my bottom lashes. You can if you like. And you don't need mascara. I know some people that honestly like don't wear mascara. That mascara is not like an everyday staple product for them. For me, it is. I like to wear mascara. Honestly, sometimes I will wear no other makeup but mascara. And that's just what I like to do. I'm going to go in for my brows with the LA Colors Browie Wowie. It's just a clear brow gel. I'm not going to do a brow pencil today for every day. I don't feel like I need it. You can add one in that you like, if you like. But since we're going for a more natural, put together, everyday kind of vibe, I'm just going to do a brow gel because I like to keep, you don't even need to use a brow gel if you don't want to. I didn't for a really long time. I didn't use a brow gel. This is kind of more of a new thing for me to wear brow gel within the last year or so because I just feel like it elevates the look a little bit to have my eyebrows not going everywhere. It just locks it in place. I have seen people do this where they do their brow gel before they do foundation. And I might start doing that because I do find sometimes the brow gel can kind of upset the foundation that we just put on a forehead. But it's not a must. It's not a given necessarily. As for lips today, I'm using the Maybelline Baby Lips Dry Rescue in the shade Coral Crave. Which that's fun for the summer. But I'm just using it because I feel like when I'm out and about, I don't want to be thinking about reapplying lipstick or needing to bring my lipstick with me that then I forget in my bag and then I have to get it back out of my bag, and it's annoying for me personally. And so I just like to use a gloss, particularly a balmy gloss, because I find my lips do get dry pretty easily. This is the finished makeup look for every day. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you would like to come back for more, I do have other videos on my channel, and if you could hit that subscribe button, it would really help me out a lot, and it would help you get to see more content. Thanks for hanging out today. Stay beautiful. Bye, guys.